Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Okay, so for this video, this is a new chapter for algebra, which is chapter number 4. So this time we discuss for chapter polynomials, right? Also very important in algebra before we understand on how to factorize, on how to simplify, use a few theorem under algebra that we can use for the polynomial, or to be specific, to solving a polynomial. But what is a polynomial all about? Okay, so as an introduction, so polynomial is actually many terms. Poly stand for many, mial stand for terms, right? So a polynomial function is of the form a null plus a1x plus a2x squared plus a cubed a3x power 3 and so on, where your a null 1, 2 and 3 until your an are real number and n is a positive integer. So it's a combination between terms and also a few terms, right? So sebab itulah nama dia polynomial, so many terms, right? So we normally write this in descending order form. Descending is from the highest to the lowest. Okay, so let's, as an example, 3x squared minus 4x plus 7. So assuming that your ax cubed, which is the coefficient for x cubed, coefficient for x power 4 until the n is 0, right? So that's why this is not in our polynomial. Okay, so this one we call a quadratic polynomial. Why? Which is the highest degree of your x over here is power 2. Okay, so since this x power 2, so we call them as the quadratic. Okay, so in a term like 3x squared, so 3 over here we call them as the coefficient. Okay, and x over here stand for the variable, and the power of 2 over here we call a degree of polynomial. Degree of polynomial. So the highest degree of polynomial stand for the type of the polynomial. For example, for the quadratic, the highest or the degree is power 2. The highest power of x is power 2. So therefore, quadratic is the example of this polynomial. Okay, so let's talk about this degree of polynomial. So if you can see from this example, the degree of a polynomial is the highest power of the actual term. So the highest power of your x over here is power 3. Okay, so this is a degree 3. When we have a degree 3, we call them as a cubic polynomial. Cubic polynomial. I believe you're familiar with the quadratic polynomial, which is the highest power of x is power 2. Compare yang this is x. X over here is power 1. So the highest power 2. So that's why the degree is 2 stand for the quadratic polynomial and so on. So we have the linear, meaning the highest power of x is 1. Compare your x equal to power 0. Okay, so this is the degree of polynomial. Okay, we have a quadratic, cubic, quadric, okay, it's power 4 and so on. Alright, so another example, in the polynomial 6x cubed minus 8x plus 2, what do we know? The degree of polynomial is 2. What does it mean by degree? Degree is the highest power of x for the actual term, right? So degree polynomial is power 3. And then the coefficient for x cubed, you can see the multiplication to this x cubed is which is 6. The coefficient for x squared, so is there any x squared over here? So 0, right? So the answer must be 0. Okay, and then the coefficient for x is negative 8, and the constant meaning the coefficient for x power 0, right? So x power 0 is 1, by the way, so the answer is 2. Okay, so this is how we identify the type of polynomial that we have. Okay, as an introduction. Okay, now for the first lesson, under this lesson we'll discuss a few subtopics. factorization, expansion, and the last one, algebraic fraction. How to simplify our algebraic expression by using factorization. Okay, so first thing first, let's understand about the factorizing versus expanding. Okay, so a polynomial can be written as sum of terms such as x squared plus 3x minus 10, or a product of terms such as x plus 5 multiplied with x minus 2. So actually, factorizing and expanding is a reverse process. Okay, when you put your number in terms of sum of term, we call them as expanding from the product of term. But from the sum of term, you change to the product of term. In term of product, we call them as a factorizing process. So it's like a cycle. So which is factorizing and expanding is a reverse process. Okay, because these two actually an equivalent value. So x squared plus 3x minus 10 is actually equivalent to x plus 5x minus 2. Okay, so the method we call factorizing. If you place in term of multiplication of product, however, when you expand your multiplication of product ataupun product of term, you will have the sum of term. Okay, sum of term meaning you ada like a polynomial, right? Many term. Okay. So expansion. Expand means multiply out to remove the bracket. Okay, you can see from this example, you have negative 3 multiply x minus 4. They will equal to negative 3x plus 12. Or when you expand product of term, okay, meaning you remove the bracket, meaning you will multiply term by term, is it? Number one, of course, you will multiply between x with x. This is number one. Number two, you multiply between x and also negative 2. So therefore, you have negative 2x. The third one will be you multiply between 5 and also x. And the last one you multiply between 5 multiply with negative 2. Then you have negative 10. And then I believe term number 2 and term number 3 you can simplify further until you have positive 3x. Okay, so we up another level of process of expansion. Now we are using the cubic, right? Which is you will expand, which is you remove the bracket by multiplying the factor. Okay, but commonly you can start with the first two term here. You multiply term by term, and then after you have the quadratic equation, then you multiply again with the remaining factor. I believe you're familiar with this one, but again, you have to be careful when you expand. Do one by one, and after that, you will check your answer whether correct or not. Okay, alright. And then you can try for the work example number 1 over here, and then but maybe a bit different over here for question number 8. Okay, for question number 8, again you have to multiply using an index. Okay, so let's try to expand between these two terms. Okay, when you multiply e with power of 2x with e power of x, what happens when you multiply with the same base? Power will be add. You will add both power. So e 2x plus x. Okay, and then multiply with negative 1, then you have e 2x, right? So these two you akan dapat e 3x minus e 2x. Here is the answer for number 8. Again, you are using the indices law in order to solve this question number 8. Okay, but for the rest, I believe you can do it by your own. Okay, and also I provide the answer over here. Alright, so next, algebraic fraction. This is a bit different compared to the expansion and factorizing. Okay, but the understanding from the factorizing and expanding we're going to use in order to solve our algebraic fraction. What does it mean by algebraic fraction? So algebraic fraction is the quotient of two polynomials with the denominator not equal to 0. Okay, so rational expression is an expression of the form P over Q, where P and Q are polynomial and your Q cannot be equal to 0. Or otherwise your fraction will be no solution. Right? So what happen kalau kita divide polynomial bahagi polynomial? Okay. Okay. So for example A, 3x minus 12 over 5x minus 20. So what you can do over here, you can factorize term by term. Okay, let's say we try to factorize for our numerator. So when you factorize your numerator, the common factor is equal to 3, right? So therefore, the remaining is x minus 4. Similar for your denominator. The common factor for 5x minus 12 minus 20 is 5. Therefore, again, you have another x minus 4. So by using this new fraction, you can cancel out this x minus 4. So therefore, the final answer is 3 over 5. Okay. So for question B, I believe you can use your calculator in order to find the factor. Okay, so if you're using your calculator for your numerator, then you have m plus 4, m minus 2. Similar, when you press your calculator to find the factor for your denominator, then you have 2m plus 3, m minus 2. Is there anything we can cancel out? Yes, which is m minus 2 with m minus 2. So therefore, the final answer is m plus 4 over 2m plus 3. So usually there will be a common factor between your numerator and also your denominator. Right, so let's try. You can try for the work example number 2. Okay, I have 8 questions altogether and here is the answer. Okay, so you can try later. Okay, remember, you can find the common factor, for example, number 1 here. What is the common factor from your numerator to your denominator? Okay, so usually we are going to group the first two term, right? So the first two term will be z w plus 4 minus with you factorize 3, then you have w plus 4 again. Okay, and then you divide with, also you group with the first two term as a group, the last two term another group. So again you have z w plus 4 minus 5 w plus, sorry, this is plus, w plus 4. So you can see from here both consist of the common factor, which is w plus 4. Then the remaining will be z minus 3 on your numerator, and your denominator also consists of w plus 4. Then the remaining is z plus 5. Therefore, you can cancel out this w plus 4, Therefore, the remaining answer is z minus 3 over z plus 5. So usually the first two term will be in a group, the last two term in another group. Okay, so same thing for number 2 here. But you have to be careful when you deal with the negative sign. Okay, so you must remember, when you factorize negative, then the sign in between here will be changed. Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay, so see you on the next video for lesson number 2. Thank you.